The world was drowning in deep darkness, a heavy silence covering the earth. Entire generations had forgotten the voice of God and allowed evil to grow like a raging storm no one could restrain. Yet in the middle of the spreading chaos, there was one man who still walked faithfully with the Lord. A man who believed when no one else believed, who listened when every heart had gone silent. His name was Noah, and God chose him to carry a divine message that would reshape humanity's destiny. One night, while the entire world slept unaware of its own approaching abyss, God spoke gently to Noah's heart. It was not through thunder or violence, but with the steady firmness of the one who knows all that is coming. Build an ark. Simple words, yet filled with urgency, warning, and profound purpose. Noah did not understand everything in that moment, but he understood the essential truth. When God speaks, it is time to answer, and his answer was faithful obedience. The ark would not be small or discreet. It would be enormous, defying logic and challenging every human certainty. As Noah cut the wood and shaped each piece with care, he understood a painful truth. Faith always seems excessive to those who do not believe. His days were filled with hammer strikes, sweat, and looks of disdain. With every blow, he remembered that what seemed like madness was truly divine protection. The ark was God's early embrace, a shelter prepared in advance. People laughed, they whispered. They mocked Noah and called him foolish. No one believed the warning that came from heaven. The sun kept shining, routine stayed the same, and rain felt as distant as their forgotten faith. But Noah continued. Obedience always moves at its own sacred rhythm, slow, steady, unwavering. While the world lived as if nothing would ever change, he built the greatest act of trust ever seen. Each wooden plank declared, God is preparing something. When the ark was finally completed, a second command arrived. Gather the animals. It seemed humanly impossible, yet it was divinely simple. They came on their own, guided by the unseen hand that moves the impossible with quiet authority, 2 by 2, species after species, as if all creation responded to the Creator's sacred call. The ark slowly filled while the world stayed distracted. God's patience is long and merciful, but it is not endless. Then the day arrived. The sky darkened as if the sun had been covered by a giant unseen hand. Noah entered the ark with his family. Outside, the world kept mocking until the first thunder tore across the horizon. One drop, then another, and then hundreds more. A rain that felt alive, intense, decisive, unlike anything known. The door closed, not by Noah's hands, but by God's own. He himself sealed what would become their refuge and divine protection. The rain became a devastating flood. The waters rose, swallowing certainties, cities, and human arrogance. Yet the ark floated. It was not comfortable, not beautiful, but it was safe. Each rising wave reminded Noah's family that God never abandons those who trust him. Inside, there was silence, prayer, and patient waiting. Sometimes salvation is exactly that, remaining where God has placed you while he accomplishes what human strength can never achieve. Days turned into long weeks. No sign of land appeared. No clear answers came. Only endless water stretching in every direction. And yet, there was peace inside the ark. Not because the world was fine, but because God was present. Noah's faith was not built on haste, but on steady perseverance. Even without knowing when everything would end, he trusted that the same God who told him to enter would one day command him to step out. Until one day, after many long days, the rain finally stopped. The silence that followed felt like another kind of miracle. The clouds slowly pulled back, and light found its way again to the water-covered earth. Noah waited further, watching carefully, discerning, listening. Faith does not rush when held in God's hands. He sent out a raven, then a dove. Signs. Small ones, yet meaningful enough to whisper, something is beginning to change. When the dove returned carrying a fresh green branch, Noah's heart understood. The earth was beginning to breathe again. The judgment had passed. Now came the sacred beginning. Yet Noah did not step out until God told him to. Obedience had started with a command, and it would end only with another. God does not merely start paths, he completes them with perfect purpose. Noah waited for the final word, and when it came, the ark opened to an entirely new world. Stepping onto the dry ground, Noah built an altar, not to ask for anything but to give thanks. Before rebuilding homes, fields, or daily routines, he rebuilt his worship. Gratitude became the very first seed planted in the renewed land. God received his offering with delight and made a promise that would echo through generations. He would never again destroy the earth with a flood. Noah's faithfulness met the unwavering faithfulness of God. Then the sky filled with radiant colors. The rainbow appeared as a divine reminder that God always leaves signs for those who look with faith. It was not merely a beautiful ark in the heavens, it was an eternal covenant, a clear proof that even when humanity fails, God is still willing to begin again with those who seek him. The ark had symbolized judgment, but the rainbow now stood as a living symbol of hope and renewed mercy. Noah's story does not end with water, but with a promise. God showed that obedience saves, faith preserves, and trust opens the way to a new beginning. Noah was not perfect, but he was willing, and that is enough for God to work the impossible. Sometimes he waits for someone who simply says, "Here I am." The ark was more than wood. It was a message, a declaration that God always prepares salvation before danger arrives. The story of Noah reminds us that God warns before he acts. He always speaks, guides, and directs, but few are truly listening. The ark was not built in a single day. It was built through days of faith, perseverance, and steady vision. God still seeks people who trust even when the sky appears perfectly clear. Faith is not waiting to see the clouds. It is beginning to build long before the first drop of rain falls. The flood shows us that many times God protects us in places we do not fully understand. The ark was not comfortable, but it was completely necessary. There are seasons when God closes us in for protection, so that nothing harmful can reach us. And that isolation is not abandonment, it is loving care. What seems like a pause may be preparation. What feels like delay may actually be divine salvation moving quietly in our favor. The rainbow teaches us that God turns judgment into promise. He always leaves signs for those who choose to look with genuine faith. Even after the longest and harshest storm, he writes hope across the sky to remind us that we are not ruled by chaos, but by covenant. The darkened heavens are not the end. They are the sacred backdrop where God reveals his unwavering faithfulness and enduring mercy. Noah's Ark is an eternal reminder that God saves beforehand, speaks in the middle, and restores afterward. He prepares impossible paths and guides every detail with perfect wisdom. May this story strengthen your faith and renew your trust in the God who never loses control. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and follow all our videos. There is still so much God desires to speak to your heart.